The small shuttle shook hard as another blast hit its side. Danny Carter held tight to his seat and watched the warning lights flash red all around him. He was alone in the ship. His crew was gone. His weapons were empty. And the massive alien warship outside was pulling him in like a fish caught on a hook. Danny was 28 years old. He had brown hair, tired eyes, and the kind of face that people forgot easily. He was not a hero. He was not special. He was just a lieutenant in the Earth Defense Force who had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. The war between humans and had been going on for 3 years. Nobody remembered anymore who had fired first. It did not matter. What mattered was that humans were losing. They were stronger, smarter, and their technology was hundreds of years ahead of anything Earth had ever built. Danny felt the shuttle stop moving. The enemy ship had caught him. He could hear the sound of metal connecting to metal as they locked his shuttle into their docking bay. His heart was beating so fast he could feel it in his throat. He looked down at his translator device. It was broken. A piece of metal had gone through it during the attack. The small screen was cracked and dark. Without it, he could not speak to the aliens. He could not explain that he was just a scout. He could not beg for his life. Not that begging would help. Everyone knew they did not take prisoners. They thought humans were like animals, dirty, stupid, not worth keeping alive. The door of his shuttle was ripped open. Bright white light flooded in. Danny raised his hands to show he had no weapons. 2 soldiers grabbed him by the arms and pulled him out. He had seen pictures of them before, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with pale purple skin that seemed to glow softly. Their eyes were large and silver, like mirrors. Their faces were sharp and beautiful in a way that did not seem real. They looked like sculptures that had come to life. The soldiers did not speak to him. They tied his hands behind his back with some kind of energy rope that burned if he moved too much. Then they pushed him forward, making him walk through long silver hallways. Danny tried to remember his training. Stay calm, look for exits, count the guards, but his mind was not working right. He was too scared. He was going to die on this ship, far from home, and nobody would ever know what happened to him. They walked for what felt like forever. Finally, they reached a massive door covered in strange symbols. The door opened slowly, and the soldiers pushed Danny inside. He found himself in a throne room. The ceiling was so high he could barely see it. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that reflected light in 1,000 different colors. And at the far end of the room, sitting on a throne made of pure white stone, was the most beautiful creature Danny had ever seen. Princess was the 3rd daughter of the Emperor. Danny did not know this yet. He did not know her name or her title or her importance. All he knew was that she was looking at him, and he had forgotten how to breathe. She stood up from her throne. She was wearing armor that looked like liquid silver poured over her body. Her hair was long and white, falling past her shoulders like a waterfall of moonlight. Her eyes were the same silver as all, but there was something different in them, something cold, something dangerous. She walked toward him. Her footsteps made no sound on the crystal floor. The guards on either side of Danny stepped back, giving her room. She stopped just a few feet away from him and looked down at his face. Danny was not short for a human, but next to her he felt like a child. "Human," she said. Her voice was clear and cold like ice breaking on a frozen lake. She spoke perfect English. They had studied humans carefully. They knew their enemies well. "You have entered restricted space. You have seen our military positions. You will tell us everything you know about your fleet, or you will die in great pain." Danny opened his mouth to respond. He had prepared for this moment. During his training, they had taught him what to say if he was ever captured. Name, rank, and nothing else. Never give them information. Never show fear. But his translator was broken. And even if it was not, the words he had practiced were gone from his head. His mind was empty. All he could see was her face. All he could think about was how impossibly beautiful she was. And then, before he could stop himself, he said the worst possible thing. "You are so beautiful I cannot speak." The words came out soft and honest. They were not a trick. They were not a plan. They were just the truth falling out of his mouth like water from a broken cup. The entire room went silent. Princess froze. Her silver eyes went wide. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. She took a small step backward as if Danny had pushed her. The guards looked at each other. They did not know what to do. In all their training, in all their years of service, they had never heard anyone say something like this to a member of the royal family. Prisoners were supposed to beg. Prisoners were supposed to cry. Prisoners were supposed to curse and fight. No prisoner had ever called the princess beautiful. Danny felt his face turn red. His whole body was hot with embarrassment. He had just made everything worse. He had just insulted her, probably. The hated emotion. They thought feelings were weaknesses, and he had just shown the biggest weakness of all. "I am sorry," he said quickly. "I did not mean to say that. My translator is broken and I was supposed to give you a diplomatic message, but then you walked toward me and my brain stopped working. You are just so. I have never seen anyone like you. And I know you are going to kill me anyway, so I guess it does not matter, but I want you to know that was not a lie or a trick. It was just the truth." He was talking too much. He knew he was talking too much, but he could not stop. The words kept coming out, one after another, like his mouth had decided to work on its own. Princess stared at him for a long moment. Her face was impossible to read. Then she turned to her guards. "Leave us," she said. The guards hesitated. "Your Highness, this human could be dangerous. We should not leave you alone with." "I said leave us." Her voice was sharp enough to cut metal. "Now." The guards bowed and walked out of the room. The massive doors closed behind them with a deep sound that echoed through the empty space. Danny and the princess were alone. She turned back to him. Her eyes studied his face like she was trying to solve a puzzle. She walked around him in a slow circle, looking at him from every angle. "Humans," she said quietly, "we have studied your species for many years. We know everything about you, your biology, your technology, your history. We know that you are ruled by your emotions. We believed this made you weak. We believed this was why we would win this war." She stopped in front of him again. "But we never understood what that truly meant." She tilted her head to the side. "You felt something when you looked at me, something real, not fear, not a plan to escape, something else." Danny nodded slowly. "Yes." "What was it?" He thought about the question. He wanted to give her a real answer, not just more embarrassing words. "Wonder," he said finally. "The feeling you get when you see something so amazing that it makes you happy just to know it exists, like watching a sunset, or hearing a perfect song, or seeing a beautiful face." Princess was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was different, softer, almost confused. "We do not have a word for that feeling in our language," she said. "We removed it long ago." And in that moment, Danny realized something important. He was not just a prisoner anymore. He was something much more dangerous. He was a question she did not know how to answer. Princess did not kill Danny that day. She did not send him to the torture rooms. She did not hand him over to the military commanders who wanted to crack open his skull and take every secret from his brain. Instead, she did something that shocked everyone on the ship. She gave him a room. It was a small room, but it was clean and warm. It had a bed, a table, and a window that looked out into the stars. There were guards outside the door at all times, but they did not hurt him. They did not even speak to him. They just stood there watching. Danny spent the first day waiting to die. He sat on the bed and stared at the ceiling and tried to understand what was happening. They did not show mercy. Everyone knew this. They had destroyed entire human colonies without blinking. They had killed millions of people. They did not give prisoners nice rooms and let them look at stars. But here he was, alive, confused, and thinking about Silver Eyes. On the second day, a guard brought him food. It was strange food, purple and green and shaped like nothing he had ever seen before, but it tasted good. Better than the military rations he had been eating for months. He ate every bite and wondered if it was poisoned. It was not. On the third day, Princess came to see him. She entered his room without knocking. The guards outside did not follow her in. She simply walked through the door and stood there, looking at him with those impossible eyes. Danny jumped to his feet. He did not know if he should bow or kneel or run. He did not know the rules here. He did not know anything. "Sit down," she said. Her voice was calm and flat like she was reading from a script. "I am not here to hurt you." Danny sat down slowly. His heart was beating fast again. She was just as beautiful as he remembered. Maybe more beautiful now that he was not about to die. She walked to his window and looked out at the stars. Her back was to him, and he could see the way the starlight played on her silver hair. "I have been thinking about what you said," she told him. "About wonder, about the feeling of seeing something amazing." Danny did not know what to say, so he said nothing. "My people do not allow such feelings," she continued. "When we are children, we are taught to control every emotion. We are taught that feelings make us weak. That logic is the only path to strength. Those who cannot learn this lesson are sent away. They are considered broken." She turned to face him. "I was very good at these lessons. I learned to feel nothing. I learned to be cold and perfect. My father was proud of me. He said I would be a great leader one day." Danny watched her face. There was something there, hiding under the surface, something she was trying very hard not to show. "But when you said those words to me," she said slowly, "something happened, something I do not understand. I felt." She stopped. She seemed to be searching for the right word. "I felt warm, in my chest, like there was a small fire inside me." Danny's breath caught in his throat. "That is called feeling touched," he said softly. "It happens when someone says something kind to you, something unexpected. It means the words reached your heart." "Heart?" She repeated the word like it was a foreign language. "Humans talk about hearts often, but the heart is just an organ. It pumps blood. It does not feel things." "For us it is more than that," Danny explained. "The heart is where we keep our emotions, our love, our hope, our pain. When we say something touched our heart, we mean it made us feel something deep inside, something important." Princess was quiet for a moment. Then she walked closer to him. She sat down in the chair across from his bed, folding her long legs beneath her. "Tell me more," she said. "Tell me about human emotions." And so Danny began to talk. He told her about happiness, about the way humans smiled when they saw their friends, or ate their favorite food, or finished a hard day of work. He told her about sadness, and the way tears fell from human eyes when their hearts were broken. He told her about anger and fear and surprise and hope. He told her about love. "Love is the strongest feeling of all," he said. "It is when you care about someone so much that their happiness becomes more important than your own, when you would do anything to protect them, when just being near them makes the whole world feel brighter." Listened without interrupting. Her silver eyes never left his face. She sat perfectly still, like a statue, but Danny could see that she was listening to every word. "Do you have love?" she asked when he finished. "Is there someone you feel this way about?" Danny thought about the question. He had dated people back on Earth. He had cared about them. But love, real love, the kind he was describing. "No," he admitted. "I have not found that yet, but I hope to someday." "Why would you want something that makes you so vulnerable?" asked. "If you love someone and you lose them, the pain must be terrible." "It is," Danny agreed. "Losing someone you love is the worst pain there is, but that is what makes love so special. We choose to feel it anyway. We choose to open our hearts, even knowing they might be broken. Because a life without love is empty. It is like being alive without actually living." Stood up suddenly. She walked to the window again, her back to him. For a long moment she said nothing. When she finally spoke, her voice was different. There was a crack in it, a tiny break in the ice. "I have never felt any of these things," she said. "I am over 200 years old. I have ruled armies. I have conquered planets. I have watched stars die, and I have never once felt what you are describing." She turned to look at him. There was something in her eyes now, something fragile and afraid. "Is that not sad?" she asked, "to live so long and feel so little?" Danny's heart ached for her. In that moment, she was not a princess or an enemy or an alien. She was just a lonely person who had never been allowed to feel anything at all. "Yes," he said honestly, "that is very sad." She nodded slowly, then she walked toward the door. "I will come back tomorrow," she said. "You will tell me more about human emotions. This is not a request. It is an order." Danny almost smiled. "Yes, Your Highness." She paused at the door. Without turning around, she asked one more question. "The thing you said to me, in the throne room, did you mean it?" Danny knew what she was asking. Did he really think she was beautiful, or was it just words? "I meant every word," he said. "You are the most beautiful person I have ever seen, and that has nothing to do with the war or my life or anything else. It is just the truth." Stood very still for a moment. Then she walked through the door without saying anything else. But Danny saw it. Just before she left, just for a second, he saw the corner of her mouth lift. It was not quite a smile. They did not smile. They had forgotten how. But it was close. That night Danny lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling. He was still a prisoner. He was still far from home. He was still probably going to die. But something had changed. He could feel it, like the first crack in a frozen lake before spring comes. Princess had spent 200 years learning to feel nothing, learning to be cold and perfect and empty. And in one strange conversation, that had started to break. Danny did not know what would happen next. He did not know if she would save him or kill him or something in between. He did not know if his words would matter at all in the end. But he knew one thing for certain. She had felt something. For the first time in her long, cold life, she had felt something real. And that feeling, whatever it was, had scared her more than any battle ever had. Because feelings, once they start, are very hard to stop. Danny closed his eyes and thought about silver hair and silver eyes and the small, almost smile of an alien princess who was learning, slowly, how to feel alive. Maybe he would die tomorrow. Maybe the war would continue forever. Maybe none of this would matter at all. But tonight, in this small room on an enemy ship, something new had been born. And that was enough. The days turned into weeks. Every evening Princess came to Danny's room. Every evening they talked. At first, she asked questions like a scientist studying an experiment. She wanted facts. She wanted explanations. She wanted to understand human emotions the same way she understood military strategy or ship engineering. But slowly, over many conversations, something changed. She started asking different kinds of questions. Not just what emotions were, but why they mattered. Not just how humans felt, but what it was like to feel. She started sharing small pieces of herself, too. Little stories about her childhood. Memories she had locked away for centuries. Danny learned that she had once had a pet. A small creature with soft fur and big eyes. She had loved it as much as a child could love anything. When she was 12 years old, her father had taken it away. He said attachment was weakness. He said she needed to be stronger. She never saw the creature again, and she never let herself care about anything else. "I cried that night," she told Danny. It was their 15th conversation. She was sitting in her usual chair, looking out the window at the passing stars. "I hid under my blankets and cried until my eyes hurt. It was the last time I ever cried." Danny did not say anything. He just listened. "My father found out," she continued. "One of the servants told him. He was so angry. He said tears were shameful. He said I was embarrassing our family. He sent me to the emotion removal center for 6 months. Danny felt his stomach turn cold. What is an emotion removal center? A place where they teach you to stop feeling. Her voice was flat, but Danny could hear the pain hiding underneath. They use machines and drugs and training. They break you down until there is nothing left inside, until you are empty and cold and perfect. She turned to look at him. Her silver eyes were steady, but there was something ancient and tired in them. I was very good at being empty, she said. I was the best student they ever had. They said I would be a model for all children. They said I was the future of our people. And were you proud of that? Danny asked softly. Thought about the question for a long time. I did not feel pride, she said finally. I did not feel anything. That was the point. Danny shook his head slowly. That is not a life. That is just existing. What is the difference? Danny stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars, millions of tiny lights scattered across the darkness. Do you see those stars? He asked. They are beautiful, right? Amazing, incredible. Nodded slowly. Now imagine looking at them and feeling nothing, Danny said. No wonder, no awe, just lights in the dark. That is existing. You see the universe, but it does not touch you. It does not matter. He turned to face her. Living is different. Living means the stars take your breath away. Living means music makes you cry. Living means someone else's smile can make your whole day better. Living means you feel the world, not just see it. Was quiet. Danny could see her processing his words, turning them over in her mind like stones in her hand. I am starting to understand, she said slowly. When I talk to you, I feel something. It is small, it is weak, but it is there, like a tiny flame in the darkness. Danny smiled. That is the beginning, that is how it starts. But it is dangerous, said. If the council finds out that I am feeling things, they will send me back to the center. They will remove whatever is growing inside me. They will make me empty again. Would you let them? The question hung in the air between them, did not answer for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I do not know. A month ago I would have said yes, I would have reported myself, I would have begged them to fix me. She looked at Danny with something like fear in her eyes. But now, I am not sure I want to be fixed. Danny took a step closer to her. You are not broken, you were never broken, they just made you believe you were. She stood up from her chair. They were standing close now, closer than they had ever been. Danny could see the tiny patterns in her silver eyes, the way the light reflected off her pale skin. My whole life I was taught that humans were animals, she said. Creatures ruled by feelings instead of logic, weak, stupid, not worth respecting. She reached out and touched his face. Her hand was cool and soft. Danny's heart stopped. But you are the person I have ever met, she whispered. You understand things my people have forgotten. You feel things we have buried. You are alive in a way we will never be. Danny could barely breathe. I do not know what this feeling is, she continued. Her voice was shaking now. It is too big, too strong. When I am with you, my chest hurts. When I am away from you, I count the hours until I can see you again. When you smile, I feel warm inside. When you are sad, I want to fix it. She pulled her hand back. There were tears in her eyes, real tears for the first time in almost 200 years. Is this what love feels like? She asked. Danny felt his own eyes grow wet. I think so, he said. I think it might be. But it is impossible. You are human. We are enemies. Our people are killing each other every day. There is no future for us. No happy ending, no hope. Maybe not, Danny agreed. Maybe this is stupid and impossible and it will only end in pain. He reached out and took her hand. Her fingers were long and cool, and they trembled slightly in his grip. But maybe that is what makes it matter, he said. Humans do not love because it is easy. We love because we cannot help it. We love because even in a universe full of darkness, finding someone who lights you up is worth any price. looked at their joined hands. A tear rolled down her cheek, leaving a silver trail on her purple skin. "I am scared," she admitted. "I have commanded armies. I have faced death 100 times. I have never been scared, but right now I am terrified." Danny squeezed her hand gently. "That is how you know it is real. Love is terrifying. It makes you vulnerable. It gives someone else the power to break your heart." "Then why do humans choose it?" Danny smiled softly. "Because the alternative is worse. Living without love is safe, but it is empty. I would rather have my heart broken 1,000 times than go through life never feeling anything at all." Closed her eyes. More tears fell. She was crying properly now, something she had not done since she was 12 years old. Her shoulders shook. Her breath came in small gasps. Danny did not know what to do. He was not sure what was allowed. He was not sure what she wanted. So he did the only thing that felt right. He stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her. She froze at first. Physical contact was rare among the hugging was almost unknown. But after a moment she relaxed. Her arms came up around him, holding tight. Her face pressed into his shoulder. They stood there for a long time, two enemies from opposite sides of a war, holding each other in a small room on a ship floating through the stars. And in that moment, the war did not matter. The danger did not matter. The impossibility of their situation did not matter. All that mattered was the feeling of being close to someone. The feeling of not being alone. The feeling of two hearts beating together, learning for the first time what it meant to be truly alive. Pulled back eventually, her eyes were red, her face was wet, she looked more beautiful than ever. "What happens now?" she asked. Danny shook his head. "I do not know, but whatever happens, I am glad I met you. I am glad I said those stupid words in the throne room. Even if this kills us both, it was worth it." Almost smiled. It was small and uncertain, but it was real. "You humans are very strange," she said. Danny laughed softly. "Yeah, we really are." 3 weeks after Danny's capture, everything fell apart. He was asleep when the alarm started. The sound was loud and sharp, cutting through his dreams like a knife. Red lights flashed across his room. He could hear soldiers running in the corridor outside. Something was very wrong. Danny sat up in bed and waited. There was nothing else he could do. He was still a prisoner. He had no weapons, no allies, no way to escape. All he could do was wait and hope. An hour passed. The alarm stopped. The running footsteps faded. Then his door opened and Princess walked in. She looked different tonight. Her face was pale, even more than usual. Her silver eyes were dark with worry. She moved quickly, closing the door behind her and walking straight to him. "We do not have much time," she said. "The council has ordered your transfer. They are sending you to the tomorrow morning." Danny felt his blood turn cold. That was where they took prisoners for interrogation. Nobody survived the interrogation centers. The machines there could pull memories straight from your brain. They could make you feel pain that lasted for days. They were not interested in information. They were interested in suffering. "I see," Danny said. His voice was calmer than he felt. "So this is it." No, grabbed his hands. Her grip was tight. "Listen to me. 3 days ago, I sent a secret message to your fleet. I told them where you are. I told them the route the transport ship will take tomorrow. A rescue team should intercept you before you reach the—" Danny stared at her. The words did not make sense. "You did what?" "I betrayed my people. I committed treason. I broke every law I have ever sworn to uphold." Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "Because I could not let them take you. I could not let them hurt you. The thought of it made me feel something so terrible that I could not breathe." Danny felt tears in his eyes. "Do you understand what you have done, if they find out?" "They will execute me." "Yes, I know," she smiled sadly. "It seems I am capable of feeling things after all. Strong things, things that make me do stupid, impossible things." "Come with me." Danny grabbed her arms. When the rescue team comes, come with me, defect to our side, we can protect you. Shook her head slowly. I cannot. Why not? You just said they will kill you. Because my death might mean something. She pulled away gently and walked to the window. Outside, stars streamed past as the ship moved through space. If I run away, I am just a traitor, a criminal, a broken thing that could not control her feelings. My people will forget me in a generation. She turned back to face him. But if I stay, if I face the council, if I tell them why I did what I did, maybe some of them will listen. Maybe some of them will wonder. Maybe my death will plant a seed in their minds. A seed. A question walked back to him. She took his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. Why would a princess betray her empire for a human prisoner? Why would she give up everything she had, everything she was, for someone she barely knew? What could possibly be worth such a price? Danny's throat was tight. He could barely speak. Love. Yes, love. A tear rolled down her cheek. They will not understand the word. They have no word for it, but they will feel the question. It will stay with them like a splinter they cannot remove. And maybe in time that question will grow into something bigger. Please, there has to be another way. There is not. She pressed her forehead against his. This was a gesture he had learned. It meant trust. It meant connection. It meant something deeper than words. I have lived for 243 years, she whispered. I have ruled armies. I have conquered worlds. I have watched empires rise and fall. And in all that time, I never felt anything. I was a machine wearing the shape of a person. She pulled back and looked into his eyes. These last few weeks with you have been the only time I have truly been alive. You gave me something I never knew I was missing. You taught me that there is more to existence than power and control. You showed me that emotion is not weakness. It is strength. It is the most powerful thing in the universe. Then use that strength to live, Danny begged. Fight, survive, come with me. I am fighting, just not in the way you want. She smiled, and it was the most beautiful and sad thing Danny had ever seen. This is my battle, Danny Carter. This is my war, and I choose to fight it my way. She kissed him then. It was soft and gentle and tasted like tears. Danny had never kissed an alien before. He had never expected to. But in that moment the differences between them did not matter. She was just a woman. He was just a man. And they were both breaking each other's hearts. When she pulled away, her eyes were red but her face was calm. She had made peace with her choice. She had accepted what was coming. I need to go, she said. The guards will notice if I am missing too long. Danny could not speak. His throat was closed with grief. Took his hand one last time. She held it tight, memorizing the feeling of his skin against hers. I do not fully understand this feeling inside me, she said. It is overwhelming and illogical, and it makes my chest ache in ways I cannot describe. But I know that when I am with you, the universe feels less cold. And I know that I would rather die having felt this than live 1,000 years having felt nothing. She squeezed his hand. I think this is what you call love. It is, Danny whispered, and I feel it too. Nodded, she let go of his hand. She walked to the door. Before she left, she turned back one more time. Her silver eyes met his across the room. Thank you, she said, for teaching me how to feel, for showing me what it means to be alive, for saying those words in the throne room even though they made no sense. Danny tried to smile through his tears. You really are so beautiful I cannot speak. Laughed softly. It was a strange sound coming from her. They did not laugh. They had forgotten how. But she was remembering, slowly, painfully, beautifully. Goodbye, Danny Carter, she said. I hope your people know how lucky they are to have hearts like yours. And then she was gone. Danny stood in his empty room, looking at the closed door. He could still smell her. He could still feel the warmth of her lips on his. He could still hear her laugh echoing in his ears. Tomorrow he would be rescued. He would go home. He would live. And she would die. It was not fair. It was not right. It was not the ending he wanted. But it was the ending she had chosen, and he had to respect that, even if it killed him. Danny sat down on his bed and cried. He cried for her. He cried for them. He cried for the universe that had brought them together and was now tearing them apart. Outside his window, the stars continued to burn, cold and distant and beautiful. Just like her. The rescue came exactly as had promised. 3 human stealth ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in front of the transport. They disabled its weapons with perfect shots. They cut through the hull and pulled Danny out before the guards could react. The whole operation took less than 4 minutes. Danny screamed at them to go back. He begged them to find. He told them she was the one who had made this rescue possible. But the soldiers had their orders. They grabbed him and dragged him to the escape ship and strapped him into a seat. The last thing Danny saw through the window was the transport floating in space, damaged and alone. Somewhere on that ship was waiting for the punishment she knew was coming. And there was nothing he could do. The trip home took 3 days. Danny spent most of it staring at the wall. The soldiers tried to talk to him, but he did not respond. They thought he was in shock from being a prisoner. They did not understand. They could not understand. When he landed on Earth, there were cameras and generals and politicians waiting for him. They called him a hero. They said he had survived impossible odds. They gave him medals and promotions and promised him a desk job away from the front lines. Danny went through the motions. He shook hands. He gave speeches. He smiled for the cameras. But inside he was empty. 1 month passed, then 2. The war continued. People died every day. Nothing changed. And then one morning, everything changed. Danny was sitting in his office when his computer made a sound. An urgent message. He opened it and saw something he did not expect. It was a video, a broadcast. It had been intercepted by human intelligence and sent to him because his name was mentioned. Danny pressed play. The video showed a courtroom. Hundreds of sat in rows, watching. At the center of the room, standing on a raised platform, was Princess. She was in chains. Her silver hair was messy. Her clothes were torn, but her eyes were still bright, still alive. A voice spoke. "Princess, you have been found guilty of treason against the Dominion. You have betrayed military secrets to our enemy. You have aided in the escape of a human prisoner. Before your sentence is carried out, you are permitted to speak your final words." Lifted her head. She looked around the courtroom, meeting the eyes of her people. Then she began to speak. "All my life, I was taught that emotion was weakness. I was taught that feeling things made us less than we could be. I believed this. I worked hard to become empty and cold and perfect." Her voice was clear and strong. It carried to every corner of the room. "But I was wrong. We were all wrong." A murmur went through the crowd. The guards shifted nervously. "Emotion is not weakness," continued. "It is the very thing that makes life worth living. Without it, we are not strong. We are just machines. We exist, but we do not live. We conquer the stars, but we cannot see their beauty. We rule galaxies, but we feel no joy in our victories." She paused. Danny could see tears forming in her silver eyes. "A human prisoner taught me this. His name was Danny Carter. He was not a soldier or a general or anyone important. He was just a man, but he understood things that our entire civilization has forgotten." Danny felt his heart break all over again. "He told me I was beautiful," said. "Those were his first words to me. I had captured him. I was going to kill him, and he told me I was beautiful." She laughed softly. It was a sad sound. "I did not understand at first. Why would he say such a thing? Was it a trick? Was it a weapon? But it was neither. It was just the truth. He felt something when he looked at me, and he could not help but say it out loud. That is what humans do. They feel things. They express things. They connect with each other in ways we cannot imagine. And it does not make them weak. It makes them the most powerful species in the galaxy." The courtroom was completely silent now. Every eye was on her. "I committed treason to save that man," said. "I betrayed my people, my family, everything I had ever known, and I do not regret it, because for the first time in 200 years I felt alive. I felt love. I felt like more than just a machine doing what I was programmed to do." She looked directly at the camera. Danny felt like she was looking at him. "If you are watching this, Danny Carter, I want you to know something. You gave me a gift that no one else has ever given me. You showed me what it means to have a heart, and even though this is the end for me, I will die happy, because I finally understand what living truly means." She turned back to the crowd. "To my people I say this. You can execute me today. You can call me a traitor and forget my name, but you cannot the question I have raised. Why did your princess die for a human? What was she feeling that made her sacrifice everything? What are you missing that she found?" These questions will haunt you. They will grow in your minds like seeds in dark soil. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not for 100 years, those seeds will bloom. And when they do, you will finally understand what I have learned. Emotion is not our weakness. It is our greatest untapped strength. And the humans who we have hated for so long have mastered it in ways we can barely imagine. She stood tall. Her chains rattled softly. That is why they will win this war. Not because of their ships or their weapons or their numbers, but because they have hearts. Real hearts. Hearts that love and hurt and hope and dream. And we have forgotten how to feel anything at all. The video ended. Danny sat at his desk for a long time. The tears on his face were cold. His hands were shaking. She was gone. They had executed her the next day. The reports confirmed it. But her words had spread. Copies of her speech were being shared across the Dominion, despite the government's efforts to stop them. Young were watching it in secret. They were asking the questions she had planted. They were starting to wonder if everything they had been taught was wrong. They called themselves the Awakened. They whispered about a princess who had died for love. They shared a phrase that had no translation in their language, a phrase they had borrowed from the humans. They called it feeling alive. The war did not end immediately. Nothing changed overnight. But slowly, over months and years, something shifted. Peace talks began. Cultural exchanges happened. The first defectors arrived on Earth, searching for something they could not find at home. Within a generation, the war was over. Within 2 generations, humans were working together. Within 3 generations, the old hatred was just a story in history books. Historians would later argue about what had ended the war. They would talk about economics and politics and military strategy. They would write long books about treaties and trade agreements. But Danny knew the truth. It had ended because one human in his most vulnerable moment had told an alien princess she was beautiful, and she had listened. Danny lived a long life. He never married. He never found another love. How could he, after everyone else seemed pale and ordinary? He kept a picture of her in his room, a still image from her final speech, when she had looked at the camera as if she could see him through time and space. Every night before he went to sleep, he would look at that picture, and he would whisper the same words that had started everything. "You are so beautiful I cannot speak." He liked to think that somewhere, across the vast emptiness between stars, she could hear him. He liked to think that she was smiling. And maybe, in some way that science could not explain, she was. Because love, Danny had learned, was the one force in the universe that distance could not weaken and death could not destroy. It just kept going, forever. Like the light from a star that had burned out long ago, but still shone bright enough to see. That was what had given him. That was what humanity had given the galaxy. The ability to feel, the ability to love, the ability to be truly, completely, wonderfully alive. And that was why they had won. Not with weapons, not with strategy, not with superior technology, but with heart. always and forever with heart. The end.